Yeah, seems that we are live. This meeting is being live streamed. Got it. Yeah, so it seems that we're live. How are you guys? Good?
Not as good as Damien, it seems, but yes, well.
Doing well. How you guys doing? Everyone good?
Yeah.
It's been a long time actually since we've all been together. I don't remember the last time. It's been a good few weeks.
I think so. Easily 3 weeks, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here we are in this moment in time, once again, here in the now.
It's been me and Shams the last 3 sessions, maybe. Shams, am I right?
Yeah, we've been fairly consistent.
Cool.
Yeah, no, it's a really nice thing to look forward to on Saturdays. Never know where the conversation will lead, but I'm always left either knowing a little more or potentially a little bit less, as often the case is, in a good way, kind of being freed from some preconceptions sort of vibe.
That's a good point. Too much static is not good, isn't it? Knowing too much. Not knowing too much, but having too much information in your mind. It's not
even too many thoughts, optimum. Too many theories, too much wisdom, I tend to think like if you can apply one piece of wisdom or one, like really genuinely stick to it and apply it, you're going to be so much better off than reading 10, 20 beautiful quotes and being like, wow, that was good. Ooh, that was good, but then never actually grounding it in your life. So I find that sometimes I go down that route a little too far and start filling my head with too much good stuff. It's good stuff, but it's not serving me at some point. So
yeah. Usually in Zen we say less is more, right? So yeah, I understand what you're saying. Shall we start with the story?
Absolutely.
I'm in.
Okay, it's not that long today, it's quite short. So all right. So there was a Zen master who used to live in his hut, okay, near a mountain. All right, and one day he left his hut so that he could go near the river and collect water. All right. And what happened is when he left his hut, there is someone who came to rob things from the hut. All right. And the robber came and actually could not find anything to rob, to steal. So he was kind of confused. And while the robber was inside the hut while he was trying to steal stuff, the Zen master came back and then he saw the thief. All right. And then he told the thief, oh, you're so unlucky. You look disappointed, right? You had nothing to take from the hut. But let me help you out. I'm going to offer you something. And then what he did is he took out his clothes, all right? And then he gave to the thief. And he
gave
sat.
What?
He gave his clothes to the thief. So he sat on the ground naked. And then he looked at the moon, all right? He looked at the moon and then he told himself, I wish I could give him the moon. And that's the Zen tale. It ends there. So there's supposed to be something profound in it. You want to go first, Damien?
Yeah, I think what I'm getting from that is just kind of, I think the Zen Buddhist master understood that in order for someone to have to go and steal, has to realize that they are in a state of lack, in a state of having to go and take from others. When the definition of abundance is the ability to do what you need to do when you need to do it. But going and stealing from others means that obviously he's got sadness within. So he has to go and like take from others but that's actually really taking from himself. Suffering from the from the master's perspective, felt compassion and wanting to fill the robbers, fill the robber just with joy and happiness. And I think when he looked at the moon, he kind of felt that if he could give all that he could give, and the moon would just to be able to fill that gap that is within that robber. I think that's kind of the message that I'm kind of taking from it. Just identifying the sadness without being sad, but just identifying that sadness within someone else, and wanting to fill that up by offering his clothes, offering the moon, or whatever he can. So that's kind of what I extracted from that snippet. So thank you for the story. It was very, very cool.
Yeah. Before I pass on to Shams, I would just like to emphasize on one of the things you said, which was compassion. A lot of times people are very quick to judge others, but the Zen master takes a step back, and possibly he's thinking like you're saying, I mean, why does the person need to steal? So he's still approaching that from a very compassionate perspective and treating the thief as a human, actually. And at the same time, the Zen master doesn't need even the clothing. And I think perhaps the message is also that the most beautiful things in life, they are free there. Like pure air, mountains, flowers, the moon, people, talking to people, all these things are free. And we have that idea in our mind that, you know, I get this, I'm going to be happy. I get that, I'm going to be happy. And that's what causes most suffering, I would say. Shams?
Yeah. Well, I think both of you like really tapped into it very well. I guess what I might add or contribute, first off, it's pretty funny. I like how Zen tales in general usually have some element of humor or absurdity to them. So imagining this guy who's just sitting naked in his empty hut now, and he's like in front of this thief who's, I imagine, be a little bit awkwarded out. Just like this guy shows up and you're like, oh, I've been caught. And then he's like, oh, he's getting naked. Like, I'm not sure if he even wants the guy's clothes, but at that point, he's probably just too shocked to say anything. But like one of the big takeaways, or one of the things that I thought, is that like the Zen masters and a lot of these stories tend to flip expectations on their head. So the idea of like the thief is coming in there and expecting, oh, I'm gonna get in trouble, I'll at least get chased out, or he'll be upset with me or scared. None of that happened. He was looked upon with, like you said, such compassion. And even the opposite of what he would expect happened, where he was offered, you know, he was the guy helped the thief, even though it seems contrary to his own best interests. So I think one of you mentioned that, like, I think Damien was saying, like, you're stealing from someone else, you're stealing from yourself, this idea that, you know, we're all connected in that way. And also potentially to break this thief's patterns. Because I feel like on some level, if he acts in a way that the thief expects, the thief is going to be continuing to believe in the story that has led him to this life of thievery. And if there is a hope to kind of, you know, change him, shift his mindset in some way, or open him up to maybe, like what you're saying too, that the free gifts that the world gives, like the moon, that it would take a very different reaction than he was expecting, a very completely foreign mindset, and saying, what, a person can be like this? And that might cause him to start to question other things that he's taken for granted, you know?
Like a spark, like to be able to kind of like hot and cold, like like neutralizes that pain by offering and giving, and all of a sudden that person who's feeling that lack inside of him can kind of almost like get neutralized by it and feel like, oh my word, someone cares about me actually. And then that little spark can change the whole course of that person's life. and whether it be clothes and whether it be the moon, whether it be whatever offering, but you come in and you expect someone's going to come back at you with anger and hate and hatred, but instead you receive compassion and love, and that neutralizes some sort of like what lack feeling inside of you, and then that, you know, that person's path then can go into a completely new direction just from that one encounter, just from that kind of and that's just the power of one small little reaction that stems from a place of love and compassion. So the Zen master, obviously being a person with that state of being full, feeling love, and that state being able to respond in a way that is in control, that stems from love, that just spreads. That's why this world, like, as much darkness as we have, but it's just a small little just a small little thing that you would not imagine that can change the world so profoundly and so quickly. And I think that's where we are at the moment in terms of this planet, or how we're dealing with ourselves, because now we're so much more aware, having these conversations. And all of a sudden, I mean, that's the natural response, right? You walk into your house, you see someone foreign. First thing, I mean, like in the world that we've been conditioned and brought up, the first thing you would imagine is, well, most people, the layman on the street, will kind of think of like, I'll want to like take a rock and beat the living life out of this person. But that just reinforces that pain, that lack. Whereas these stories and these conversations, you realize, like, if you see the world from the eyes of love, from a space of being fulfilled, and like the Zen master or someone that is practiced state of being, it just shows that small little kind of effort in that direction can have such profound effects and ripples into the rest of the world / the universe. And I think that's where we are on the cusp of like some like, and that's why we're probably seeing like the pandemic and all these like happenings in the world, going into space, all these like profound things that are happening is all a consequence of us going within and connecting more with ourselves. And yeah, so that's kind of how I see this whole story.
Yeah, that's a nice way of looking at it. And perhaps one point is also that you can always be compassionate, and you can always give, even if you don't have much, because what does he end up giving? His clothes, and that's all that he could give. There's actually another alternate story.
Shams, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm guessing.
Where the Zen master gives his bowl, which they usually use to beg for food. The point is also that you don't need much to be happy, I would say. You can be really happy with just the state of being alive, let's say. And that itself, being alive itself, is a source of happiness. And I think if we continue developing that, then we'll start to go towards the cause of suffering, actually. I mean, if that's really the case, then why do people suffer? Then that becomes the second noble truth, let's say, which is that, okay, life is suffering, yes, but why do people suffer? People suffer because there are desires. They want things. They always want things, and that's what causes suffering. And there's a mismatch between how your life is and how you want your life to be. And that mismatch is what causes suffering. So, I mean, the noble truth also can be linked to that story, I would say. But yeah, life is wonderful.
It's the remix.
Girish, can you hear us? No, I think maybe his internet has but anyways,
It's a moment to meditate more deeply.
Just the way it is, the most you reach complete, let's say it's complete on its own. So
Okay, I think he's completely gone now. But let's take this on. Let's keep on going and flowing. How's the raps going?
But there he
Oh, there you
goes.
go.
Yeah.
yeah, I think the discussion got too intense.
the internet spirits are like, look, enough about this suffering, you guys. Cheer up.
But also what I want to mention just with regards to that, the state of wanting, and I mean we have everything that we need always. Everything that we need is always around us. Everything's always there, but it's up to us to see it. But often we entertain the vibration of want. So that puts us in a state of wanting. And that state of wanting is that state in of it itself. So wanting is a state. I want this. And then that puts you in like, oh, but I don't, that means that, or that implies that I don't have something that I want. And because I don't have it, I am upset, even though I have everything that I need. So I think it's just about like, I mean, you've only got like, let's say right now. So the more time you can spend recognizing everything that you have around you, everything that you need is present, and then everything that you desire. I think desire is a good thing. It keeps us evolving and being able to experience life. But desiring something is I think natural to the human. Like we all desire something but at the same time, but recognize the desire, recognize we have everything that we need around us. And then, but instead of spending time wanting what we desire, that's where there's that mismatch, and that's where the let's say the demon or the bad or whatever, that upset or that sadness or whatever can come in and creep its head and be like, oh, I've got this lack feeling inside of me, and now entertain it more because now I want this. And that wanting state of being attracts more wanting, because now you start recognizing, oh, my friend has got these pair of shoes and now I want that. Why don't I have that, even though I've got a pair of shoes? And then that reinforces itself, and if you spend too much time in that state, then it just amplifies, and then it's so just recognizing that everything that we need is present. And when we feel the state of like the desire, you can recognize the desire and be grateful for the desire and be like, wow, that's exciting to experience that. I look forward to that. And then I do want that, and then come back to, but I am grateful and appreciative with all that I have, and I look forward to experiencing that in perfect timing, just to take that vibration of lack away. There is like, we are abundantly, we are all abundant. We are all abundant in whatever it is that we so desire. But a lot of people, but at the same time, we can be abundant in lack. But we're abundant. Life is abundance. Life is abundance, but it's where we give our focus to. And if you focus in lack, you will be abundant in lack. So it's just a matter of like refining your perspectives in terms of like recognizing that we have abundance of air, abundance of whatever it is that you're abundant in life. And whenever there's that feeling of like lack, you can recognize that stems from some sort of belief. Identify those beliefs, redefine those beliefs, and go. But sometimes just recognizing the belief that it's gone. So that's why what makes it interesting is that this is all a program, mental program. So you can, once you recognize it, oftentimes that belief is just dissolved because you've recognized it. So yeah.
True. I mean, the way you see the world, everything relies on that actually, and that's what you were saying, your beliefs. And if you really want to see all the bad things happening in the world, that's what you're going to see every day nonstop. And the other side also is not too cool. If you just want to see good things, also that gives you like a sugar-coated way of looking at life. I think it's both, but I mean, it all comes back to the same idea of moderation. Everything in moderation. That's a core of Buddhism, actually. equanimity, everything in moderation. And I think the term desires, it's bad translation. The original term in Sanskrit for the actually not desires. So, and it's exactly what you were saying, Damien. It's one won't be happy, then it's not healthy. That other thing. So this is what causes suffering. But desire is important. You need to move in life, and if human beings don't have a goal, they won't move towards that goal, and then the life is stagnant. So desires are important in that sense.
We broke up there for a second, and I wanted to hear, what was the original term in Sanskrit for that you were talking about?
I was saying the cause of suffering. I mean, the word desires is used a lot if you read about the Four Noble Truths online, but it's not desires actually. If you really translate the term, it's craving. So the cause of suffering is craving. It's not desire, and craving is another level. It's not just desire. It's something more than desire. So this is what causes suffering. Yeah, and this one makes more sense. Because craving is as if if you don't get that person in your life, you're going to be miserable. If you don't get that job, you're going to be miserable. If you don't get that much money in your bank account, you're stressed, you're unhappy. I mean, that's what craving would be. If you don't get that, there's it lacking. So that's what would be craving.
Craving also to me implies like it's ongoing. Like you don't forget about your cravings. Like that's why
restlessness.
Yeah, exactly. It's like going to be on the back of your mind until you get it. And then even when you get it, sometimes you can't get enough. Like if you're craving like a chocolate cake and then you eat a slice and you still kind of want more chocolate cake, even though you're full, versus potentially if you just desired it and then, it wouldn't be on the top of your mind all the time. And then once you get it, you'll enjoy it, but it's not, craving does have a different energy. So that is a really nice distinction to make, I think. That helps.
I think an analogy that I've just come to mind that I think is quite cool is that like desire, let's say I'm watching TV, okay, and I'm watching TV, I have the remote next to me, and I'm watching just a random channel. But I know Man United is playing in 5 minutes, and I'm very excited. And I know that it's going to be a great match, and I'm very excited to watch it. And then the match has, let's say, in 5 minutes comes past, the match has started, and my desire is to change to watch Man United. And normally, what I do is I take the remote and I change the channel, and zoop. There's my desire. Because of my desire, I've taken action on what the tools I know available to then shift from one channel that I'm watching to the Man United game. And then I'm happy and I'm entertained and I'm watching and I'm experiencing that reality. The other version, I think, where craving comes in is that I'm watching this channel and then Man United has started and I know the game is going and my remote doesn't work. I can't turn the channel onto sports channel to watch Man United, and time is ticking. Time is ticking, and I can't. And the more I play with this remote, I change the batteries. It's not working. The TV doesn't have a channel turner, and I don't know what tools to use to allow me to reach that. And now I'm craving to watch this football because my messages are coming through, and people are telling me, "Oh my word, it's a great match," and I'm losing my mind because I know the time is ticking. And then that's where it causes anger. And then I kick the TV screen in, and then I punch it, and then I go and smack. I just lose my mind because I'm getting completely angry because I don't know what tools I can use to allow me to entertain a new vibration to experience that new reality. And I think that is what sometimes people get frustrated because they crave being a better person, they crave having money, they crave being able to live a life where they feel that they can provide, or whatever the case may be, whatever type of reality they want to experience. But I think sometimes in the world, they get caught up within a certain paradigm of way of thinking. and then they crave another life because they see people are enjoying it, people are happy, and then they feel stuck.
Mm.
And they don't know what tools to use to allow them to get to that other frequency. And that causes people to be angry. And that's where pain comes creeping in, because they just don't feel that they have the tools. And I think that is maybe one of the intentions while we interact on these, is to be able to assist people in enlightening ourselves through conversation, and enlightening watchers to kind of be like, oh my word, I didn't think about it like that. And that just basically gives them the remote back and says, here's the remote, you can change, this is what you can do, you know, this is a tool, or you can, you know, so yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's linked to the noble truth again, not accepting life the way it is. So if the remote is not working, you change batteries, you try everything you could. There's nothing more you can do. So getting angry won't change anything. So it's not accepting life the way it is. This is what causes more suffering. And you have a beautiful Buddhist story, which I think I narrated once, about the man receiving an arrow in his chest or something like that, right? So the arrow hits him. That's suffering, okay, which life inflicts to us. And then what the tendency of human beings is that, okay, you grab two more arrows and then you pierce yourself with these two more arrows by yourself. And that could be interpreted as us complaining, why this happened to me, why did that arrow hit me, why did it have to be me, and why does destiny or God or life treat me this way? So all these mental chatter, this is what causes more suffering. Yeah, the arrow hits you, okay, you deal with it, but your mental a lot of the mental tension is caused by us human beings. We could cope with it in a different way. And you can choose not to do that, but you're just going to cause more suffering for yourself. So it's wise to
kick in the
actually
TV
learn.
and punch it. And that was a great metaphor, but yeah, no, it's so true.
Yeah, true.
That doesn't help anything.
Yeah, nope. Because then your TV's broken and then you can't change the channel anymore. You need to go buy a new one.
More suffering, you need to spend more money.
Yeah, you gotta just yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, that's the practice, right? Is to be able to, in that moment, be able to be like, okay, well, this is interesting that I'm not meant to be watching the football right now. You know, it's just all a state of how you interacting with your reality. And again, stems back to responsibility, your ability to respond.
Yeah.
And that's the name of the game, really, to practice being able to respond, and then your energy, put out the energy, get back. So put out anger, you get out a more angry reflection. Put out joy and acceptance and flow, and that's what you experience. So, but that's really a choice that we all have, and it's up to you to decide if you want to be angry or if you want to be. It's all valid. It's all valid and up to you. And then that brings up the lessons that you need to be able to continue evolving, I suppose.
True. I mean, people do get angry from time to time, but the problem is when we hold on to it too much, then it causes a lot of problems to us. And that's the kind of anger we're talking about. We're not talking about not being angry at all, but it's holding on to it till it starts to eat you inside and you don't sleep, and then you keep it with you for days, for weeks. And some people keep stuff inside themselves for years. You know, I was talking to one of my elders in the family, and then in the conversation, the person mentioned, you know, that person spoke like that to me, and that was like 3 years ago, something like that. That you're still holding on to that thing the person said, you know. It's so I mean, possibly the other person doesn't care, but you're still holding on to that. You're causing so much damage to yourself, and it's not wise to do that.
Well, then that's where, you know, illnesses and ailments come in, because you keep that vibration dormant inside of you, and then that expands, and then that's where it manifests in ailments too. Yeah.
Cool. I think we decrypted the that story pretty well. It was a very good conversation. Now, Shams wanted me to bring like the core Buddhist beliefs in the podcast, like the formal things we guys do. Okay, and that's why we started with the Full Noble Truth last time. We talked a bit about it. And the next few podcasts is going to be about the formal precepts which the Buddhists vow to follow, let's say. Actually, I'm going to renew the precepts myself next month. It's something you do every year. And there is something very powerful, which I like, and that's called the verse of atonement. Okay, an atonement, in the definition is like a sort of self-sacrifice, actually, when you atone to something. Okay, and it's very powerful. It consists of 4 lines, actually. So I'm going to read it to you. Okay, and then to me, I like doing it every day because it's very powerful and it really makes you become humble. Okay, so I'm going to lay it out to you. Okay, so it's a sort of prayer which we do every day. Okay, all right. So the first line is like that. Okay, so all the harmful acts, words, thoughts ever committed by me since of old. Okay, I'm going to repeat it. All the harmful acts, words, and thoughts ever committed by me since of old, on account of beingness, greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and mind, now I atone for them all. And that's a prayer. It's very simple, but to me, it's very profound. I'm going to read it again, all right? So all the harmful acts, words, and thoughts ever committed by me since of old, on account of beingness, greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and mind, now I atone for them all. Now, in that prayer, you do, how do we say that? You do agree that you've done things you shouldn't have done. Maybe you say things, okay? You've act things that you think you shouldn't have done. And also, in the second line, it points towards what actually makes people commit things they regret afterwards, okay? And there are 3 key things here. The first one is greed, so wanting more and more. The second one is anger, which Damien touched on. And the third one is ignorance. So these are actually the 3 causes of suffering. And 3 things we can become more aware of as human beings and work on them, I would say. All right? And they're born of my body, mouth, and mind. So by body, I mean, we as human beings, we feel emotions, and sometimes we don't really know how to express ourselves. Maybe sometimes we get a bit angry and we just say something without thinking. So the body, mouth. Now, that's actually linked to one of the precepts where we Buddhist people vow to actually speak in a certain way. So we never speak harshly, no matter what people do to us. Actually, me and Shams, we had a very intense conversation on that in a context where there is severe aggression, but you would still not cross that line because, you know, it's a line you don't cross. You still respond in a neutral and polite way, no matter what the other person is saying. So body, mouth, and then the mind, meaning sometimes here it can be blurry. You can have too many thoughts and you don't really know what to do with all these thoughts. So we are aware that the body, the mouth, and the mind make us do those things. And these things are born out of greed, anger, and ignorance. So it's a very powerful prayer for me. When I do it every day, the first thing that happens to me physically when I do it is that it makes me very humble, because I acknowledge that there are things I messed up. So I atone for them. I mean, and it prevents you to be too self-righteous also, meaning when you try to do things the correct way the whole time, you may overdo it and think that, no, you can't do any mistake. You're always doing the right thing. So sometimes you need to leave that window open. Maybe what you were trying to do was interpreted in a different way. So you try to understand the other person. And that came up also in one of the conversations I had with Shams, where you try to understand the other person's point of view also. Or maybe you messed up. Maybe you did something you shouldn't. So you try to balance both, let's say. So yeah, that's the prayer of atonement, which I find very powerful.
So the humility makes a lot of sense to me. And what I wanted to ask you about is what you mentioned in the beginning of what atonement means. Because I think you said sacrifice or self-sacrifice. So when you say at the end, I atone for these, what does that mean to you? Or what does that like imply?
Okay. To me, atonement means that you agree you messed up.
Okay.
And it's not like sort of sacrifice where you're trying to hurt yourself because you did something bad. It's just that you're acknowledging that you perhaps messed up in the past. And that makes you humble, because yeah, we all messed up.
Yeah.
At different degrees, obviously. You don't want to mess up too much. Okay, but yeah, it makes you humble when you think that, yeah,
I think
whatever you've done,
recognize and reflect on and feel it. What atone, the Google definition, because I actually checked, so I wasn't too sure what it meant, but it says, yeah, make amends or reparation in a human sacrifice to atone for the sin. So
that's perhaps a more Christian dimension to it. If we mention the word sin, I would say. So what did you get, Damien? Sacrifice?
So a human sacrifice to atone for the sin. So basically the verb means make amends or reparation. So I mean, like things, you do something out of greed or anger in the past, and then you sit and you kind of reflect on it and look at it from, the different angle and then that's where you kind of can reflect and realize, oh my word, I didn't realize what I was doing at that time. And you feel like, oof, that, and then to make amends, you can go, whatever, if you've hurt someone, you can go, and maybe an atone would mean like let's say you swore someone because you were angry or something like that. And then you can go back to that person and just kind of, atone, maybe make amends, or just kind of rebalance the energies, I suppose.
Yeah, you say, sorry, man, I messed up. I wasn't me. I mean, you accept that you lost it, perhaps. Yeah. But from a Buddhist point of view, it's really acknowledging things you did. And also in the prayer itself, you have the cause. The causes also, like ignorance being one of them, greed and anger. So it's very clear. These are the three things which causes us to behave in unhealthy way: greed, anger, ignorance. I mean, if we're really aware of these three things and we constantly work on them every day, our life will be much, much better. Because these are the three things which eat us up, actually.
So greed is wanting more than you
Need.
have or need, maybe? Is
Yeah.
that what you would?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then anger to me is like an emotional reaction when something's not happening the way you want it to happen.
Yes.
Is that
Exactly. Yeah.
okay?
You
So
nailed
that
it.
those make sense.
Mhm.
And then the last one though, ignorance. So how do you, that means just not knowing something,
Yeah.
which is like, well, you
That's a
don't know
very
what
good
you
one.
don't know, right? It's like
Yeah,
that
that's a
one's
very good one.
that's the tricky one in
I have an
mind.
answer for you.
Okay.
Okay. We can't know everything, right?
Sure.
Good. But
I'll
in
concede that.
yeah, but okay, it's that's going to be a podcast on its own, actually, the ignorance thing.
Okay.
Okay, so unlike some other traditions or religions, let's say, the Buddhist people believe that people act in harmful ways out of ignorance, meaning we don't say that people are evil
Okay.
by nature. Okay, so they act in ways to hurt others because they're ignorant of the bigger truth. And now you can ask, okay, what is the bigger truth? The bigger truth would be like the law of impermanence. So if you don't really understand it, you're always going to be unhappy because when things change, you don't like it. But if you really understand impermanence, you will go with the flow because you know it's like it's a reality. It's like the truth.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing, which I mean, there are lots of things Buddhist people believe in. So one of the big things is impermanence. The other one would be oneness. So we are all connected to each other. Okay. So when you don't understand that, that's when you feel lonely, you feel depressed. Like, I mean, you can never be lonely, right? I mean, it's a mental condition, right? Because you're on Earth right now, you're breathing, and that oxygen itself came from a tree, and that tree is connected to something else. And we are connected in so many different ways, and you can't exist on your own. So that's when people say they're lonely, it actually means that they're not connected with themselves, first of all. And when you're not connected with yourself, you can't make that connection with other people. So that's another discussion anyway. But, so we have that oneness, we have impermanence, and and then we have that concept of no self, which we say emptiness in Buddhism, meaning you think what you see, this is who I am, but actually I'm empty. Right? I don't exist the way you think I exist. Like the things I'm saying, they are words, the wisdom I've learned from experience, from Buddhist scriptures, but essentially, I'm nothing. The body itself was given to me by my parents. The name was given to me by my parents. Whatever knowledge I have has been learned, so it's not really me. So if you keep breaking it down, you'll see that you are nothing. So we have something very cool, which we can do in the next session. We can do the Heart Sutra, which is like a prayer, but this one you need to chant it actually, which is about emptiness actually. And it tells you that everything comes from emptiness. And this is what we are. We are empty. We are nothing. So once you realize that you are nothing, I mean, nothing can hurt you actually, right? Because you're nothing.
Because you are it. Nothing can hurt you because you are nothing. Can't hurt yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. But at the same time, you still have that body and you need to maintain it. You need to act in correct way. So you keep using that word paradox, Shams, but Buddhism is a paradox. So we say we are nothing at the same time. The Buddhists, they have like 10 precepts which they stick to. We need to do that. We need to act like this. We need to act like that. So it's balancing both.
The middle ways you've mentioned.
The middle way, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Well, another paradox of we are nothing, yet we are everything.
Exactly. And in a workshop, I actually did that at school, Damien. So I was doing a theory of knowledge class, so which we do in the IB, where you discuss different themes. And I was explaining nothingness and everythingness, let's say. So I took a student and I asked him to come in front of the class. Then I said, okay, let's do an experiment to understand nothingness, right? So right now you see the student. Okay, let's say you see me, okay? So that's what you see right now, and that's what you think is real, all right? Because you can't see me. Now, if I really go inside of me, okay, you have the organs, you have, if you go deeper, you have the cells, and then if you go deeper and deeper, you'll go up to a particle level, let's say, and the smallest particle is what, a quark in physics right now. So as you go inside, it becomes smaller and smaller and smaller till it will lead to nothingness, right? Because if you look at the pattern, it becomes smaller and smaller and smaller, leading to nothing, all right? Now, instead of zooming in, let's say you zoom out. So right now I'm here. If I zoom out, you're going to see my house. I zoom out, you're going to see the district, let's say. You zoom out, you're going to see Mauritius. You zoom out, you're going to see the world. If you keep zooming out, you see the universe. You zoom out. So what's happening? It's becoming everything. So whether it's nothing or it's everything depends on perspective from where you're seeing. Are you zooming out or are you zooming in? But at the same time, you are all of that, isn't it? It just depends from where you're seeing or understanding it. So right now we see the world in this way because of our perception. And that's what wisdom is. The more we understand, it's as if so this is our small mind. We have something called big mind in Buddhism. So the more we become wise, the more we understand, we align ourselves to the big mind, where we see things in a totally different way. And then you have lots of beautiful poems which have been written whereby you have the moon being reflected on the water. So the moon becomes the water, and the water is the moon, and it's just a different way of looking at how everything is connected, how everything is reflected onto each other. I mean, nature is doing all these tricks, but at the same time, we do that as human beings also. Like I'm talking right now, it's being mirrored onto you. It does something to you. Then Sham says something to Damien. Damien gets it. And then Damien takes that and projects that on someone else. And it's all beautiful, that butterfly effect that, everything you do affects the other person, and you keep affecting another person. And it's as if you're exchanging energy, and that energy gets transmitted. It's a beautiful transmission. It's not like the virus, but a beautiful positive transmission of energy. And I mean, life is beautiful in that way.
So the coronavirus is beautiful? Is that what you're trying to say? You traitor. No. But yeah, no, I get what you mean. And it's interesting too how you can find patterns for things in nature that happen outside of nature, like how an idea or a smile or a feeling can be transmitted like a virus might, or how you can say something and it's reflected in another person where it's not the exact same thing you said, like the moon isn't exactly the same in the water, but it looks the same. It's interesting to consider how different things that happen in nature can be taken metaphorically and applied in other places, and you can see these patterns happening. So that's cool. That's something I'm gonna.
If we go back to the story itself, the Zen master, he looked at the thief, and then his first reaction was to think, okay, what can I offer the person? So this is reality, where you have the Zen master and you have the thief, right? But the Zen master's reality is completely affected by the way he sees the world. So he's looking at the person with eyes of compassion. So his reality is completely different. Another person would have, like Damien said, try to throw a rock at the thief or criticize and abuse the other person, right? But he's not coming from that place also. So all these negative things like judgment, trying to hurt the other, they all found in the person. So that reality is constructed from something inside the person. So if you're really aware of how you are and like the vow of atonement laid out, you really work on greed, anger, and what was the other one? Greed, anger, and ignorance. So if you really work on those things these three things the whole time, you're obviously going to become a more and more refined human being. Now, when I say refined human being, doesn't mean you're changing yourself. What we say in Buddhism is that you go back to your true nature because it's already your nature. It's just that it's as if we are dirty. We've got mud all over us, and we are washing these layers out of us while we practice, let's say. But deep inside, we are all enlightened. So that's why we say people behave in these ways out of ignorance, because they don't know what their nature is. And that's what ignorance is in Buddhism. It's not really knowledge, but people are unaware that they are all beautiful human beings deep inside. So that's what ignorance is actually.
So you don't
which is
actually have
beautiful,
to
actually.
learn from something new. Yeah, it is. And it makes it like more accessible, because if you say that ignorance is the opposite of knowledge, well, like you said, you can't know everything. So it'd be a losing battle. But if ignorance in this case is speaking to a lack of connection or a lack of just being ignorant of one thing, which is your true nature, okay, in that case, that's something you can explore and find, God willing, you know, it's feasible. So that's very cool. I really like that you've clarified what that ignorance of those three really means. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, it was important to clarify that also, because we tend to think as ignorance being lack of knowledge, right? Yeah, but in a Buddhist sense, it's not knowing your true nature. And you know, when you're acting as per your nature, you are calm, you're peaceful, you express yourself freely, like we're doing right now. We're not operating on a certain script, we're just communicating freely. So we're acting from that true nature place in us, let's say. But when you're angry, there's actually a conflict between the true nature and how reality is, and this is what is causing that that anger. And the body plays tricks on us. We need to be aware of that. You know, emotions and sensations, they are important, but they're not always what the true nature is. Like Damien sometimes talk about unconditional love. The way people, what people think love is in terms of attachment and wanting, or, you know, holding too tight to the other person. That's not what love is, because then you want that person for yourself. So it's like a sort of bondage, you know. But unconditional love is like helping someone cross the road, and then you're not going to see the person again. So the person doesn't owe you anything. You're just acting from that place, and the world will be a much better place if we really understood our nature and we acted as per our nature, I would say.
Well said.
And really, just like, I mean, there's something like Shams is Shams, Girish, Damien, the tree. But really deeper, if you go deeper in all of that, the witness that is witnessing the experience of Shams, the experience of Girish, the experience of Damien, the experience of being the cat, the witness with no judgment, just there, unshakable, unbreakable, just infinite witness, observance, that state of just presence, that is ultimately who we all are. However, in order for the universe to continue expanding, to continue understanding itself, or for us to continue understanding ourselves, we need to experience the experience of being Shams, the experience of being Girish, the experience of being Damien, the experience of the cat, the experience of the dog, so that the witness, which is you, the same witness that resides within everything, the universe, that space that you talk about, that emptiness or that space, the witness space, is the universe continue expanding to infinity through us, through the cat, through the dog. And obviously by our responses, because we buy into the belief that I am Damien and Johnny said that I've got a big nose and therefore I react. And that's just life expanding and the witness observing that expansion. And that's really what we are. We are that unshakable, unbreakable observance. And we're all trying to figure out what is life, what is what. It all just is what it is. And that's all and that's what it is. And it's continuous expanding, and it will expand to infinity through us. We are the ocean, but we are the wave experiencing the wave. Right? We are the ocean and we are the wave, but the wave is the ocean. So we are all, in a sense, we are all in a sense God, because we're all witnessing our experience. And but then we fall into the belief that I'm Damien, and then we reduce ourselves by responding and believing that that's all we are. But we are all that is. God is all that is. Everything is, that's everything. And the cat that exists, the tree that exists is in my reality, which I'm experiencing, but that cat is me, because when it's walking there, I might believe it's something, but at the same time, I'm just witnessing it, that experience in my reality. I'm witnessing it. And that witness and that experience is being experienced by me, which is an emotion, which I'm communicating to the universe. Yeah. So yes, yeah, so we're all connected. And so this is why the Zen master at the beginning, he recognizes, and it's not even something like you need to recognize intuitively or mentally, it's a feeling state. So you feel that feeling, you feel everything, you're feeling, because that everything is you. Yeah. And when you can, and when you, so the Zen Buddhist master, like whatever, like recognizes his state and recognizes that, like, that person acting in that way, he can feel is coming from a place. So how would you, like, what the world doesn't understand, what we've kind of, what we've experienced and whatever, and how this society has been built, is that, like, I need to try and like build my base, but by like taking from you, because there's lack, there's like this state, but really, because we're all one and we're all connected, your gain is my gain. So but sometimes but now we start entertaining these vibrations of jealousy, and because now, oh my word, Peter is happy because he's got this and that makes me feel like I don't have enough, because now, but that's just a mental construct, and that's an emotion that we're entertaining and we're putting out into the world. But when you realize that everything is one and everything is connected, you start respecting everything, you start appreciating everything, you start like loving everything, and you start appreciating the fact that people around you are succeeding and happy. You see that as a reflection of yourself, and this is how there is harmony in expansion, and this is where abundance can continue expanding. So yeah,
nice one. Shams, any last words?
No, I think you guys said it. I think that what I'm taking away from this, which I want to reflect on more, I mean, I've taken a lot away, but one of the things I'm going to reflect on is the greed, anger, and ignorance, and how they're showing up, in my life, and to recognize in humility, like the what is it? The what of atonement? The prayer of atonement? Is that
Yeah, it's
what do you call it?
prayer of atonement or verse of atonement. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, to kind of take that stance and recognize and be humble that, that these things do surface in different ways, and to just bring more awareness to it. And as Damien said, that sometimes just becoming aware of it, it dissipates when you put that consciousness on it, or however you want to put it. Yeah. Beautiful conversation. So
yeah,
great.
it was good. It was great as usual.
Good to see
Thanks,
you guys
guys.
all again.
Yes, man. Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. Let's make
Okay, guys.
one
Take
day
care.
we must have a session where we're all sitting together live, having a coffee. That'll be cool.
I'd be into that. Make it happen.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Okay. Good night, guys.
Take care. Good night.
Bye bye.
Chat
See
soon.
ya.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.